Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Northwest Georgia Cryptic. I am Rick Weaver, your host. Tonight I'm joined, as always, by Mr. Blake Duckworth, my co-host. And tonight we have a very interesting guest joining us, Mr. Carter. I hope I say this right, Buschardt. Carter is an author of a couple of Sasquatch books that he's going to show you a copy of it here. And if all y'all folks out there, please order a copy of this book. I've talked to Carter for just a few moments before the show, and I have found everything that he's got to say very interesting. I know Blake has. Blake, if you want to go ahead and open the show, bud, we'll bring Carter on.
Hope everyone's doing good. And as always, guys, if you're not already subscribed, hit the subscribe button, bell notification, like, and a comment. Hope everyone's been doing well. We've kind of been a little sporadic the last couple of weeks with our show, but just a lot going on. Try to get back to our normal Wednesday night schedule. But as always, guys, thank you guys so much. And you can go and bring him on, Ricky.
Okay, everybody, let's welcome Carter to the show. Carter, how's it going, buddy?
Excellent. This is going great. Halfway through the week, I'm happy.
Well, hey, man, like Blake said before the show started, we just kindly bring you on, let you tell a little bit about yourself to the folks, and we'll go from there.
All righty. Well, I've been an investigator with BFRO for 12, 13 years. I've had probably close to 100. I mean, like 95, 96, something like that. I had, almost 100 reports published to the BFRO.net website. And I've probably spoken to at least 300 witnesses, maybe more than that. That's as far as the investigation of reports goes. That came through BFRO, probably at least 300 people. And so I've had a lot of stuff published, a lot of Class A stuff. I've written 2 books, Sasquatch, Evidince of an Enigma 1 and 2. 2 just came out here about a week ago. And so I got into the cryptid world probably about 15 years ago when I decided there was something going on in the world. I studied to be a MUFON investigator, and I was talked out of that by somebody who was in MUFON because their reports get sanitized or just disappear, and it's a lot of frustration. So I said, well, I don't want to, do that. That's a lot of work studying for MUFON because you have to know constellations and all that stuff. I mean, I was doing homework. At 35 years old, I was like, well, okay, if I'm going to do all that work, I want to be going somewhere where it's welcome. So anyway, happenstance, I got a hold of somebody up in Washington State who was a Bigfoot investigator. He put me in touch with somebody down in Missouri, which is where I live. And I went on an expedition, and within a year, I was doing reports and leading expeditions for BFRO. They got rid of the guy who was doing them in Missouri, and I was doing them. And until I decided not to do them anymore, So I've led 4 expeditions for BFRO. I've seen stuff you can't explain. I'd love to be able to explain it, but I can't because it is quantum, metaphysical, abstract, whatever you want to call it. It's just off the chart stuff. So that's kind of how I arrived here. I started out as a rock and roll drummer for about 20 years. I was a comic for about 5 years, and now I've been selling real estate for 25. And I don't know what I'm going to do when I grow up. So that's just kind of where it's at, So anyway, the first book was just out of nowhere. It was, there you go, Sasquatch, Evidence of an Enigma. That's the first book. And this is the new one right there. And that cover in and of itself is very interesting. Now, that's a whole other story. Well, I'm sure we'll get to it. So, but having written the first book where I got into the paranormal and quantum aspects, and I had Ron Moorhead. I know you've heard of him in his Quantum Bigfoot book. He did some commentary on it, and some of the things that have happened to me and my wife together are very much like what happened in his book. And I don't know if you've read or listened to his tapes or read that book, but he's got some weird stuff that went on in his camp. And the same type of things happened to my wife and myself. When on a lark, I decided I'd take her to one of my research areas and show her how it works. Well, you know what happens when you say, I'm going to take you out somewhere, I'm going to show you how this operates. Well, nothing ever happens. Well, this did, there's probably a rhyme or reason for it. So anyway, that's how I got where I am. I wrote the first book and people were just coming out of the woodwork. And I thought, I got to do another one. It's got abstract stuff that's like off the charts. Even I had to scratch my head a little bit, but I believe the people. I'm way past believing that they believe what happened. I'm to the point where they're telling me things that are being told by other people. And these people don't want anything from me. They don't want money, fame, fortune, name, and lights. They don't want nothing. Don't tell anybody where I live. I just want to tell my story and not have anybody laugh at me. And that's what I did. I just took these stories and wrote them. And these are real people having real events. And you're going to think some of it's kind of crazy. But if it was your wife or spouse telling you the story, would you think they're crazy? Or would you believe them? You got to draw a line somewhere, but if you think, oh, that guy's nuts, oh, she's crazy. But then your wife goes, well, I got something to tell you. And about 5 years ago, before we met, I saw a Sasquatch and it just disappeared right in front of me. Are you going to tell her she's nuts? You want to sleep on the couch the rest of your life? No. So you have to draw a line somewhere when these people are telling you these stories and they're heartfelt. Some people are almost in tears. Some people have sat on this for 40 years. They're deeply affected. Some of the stuff, they're like totally blown away, and it's affected them deeply to their core, to where they've become reclusive, some of them, and just can't handle it. It changed their view of life in its entirety. When you see one up close, like Ricky said, he saw one and it changed everything. Back in 91, is that right? Somewhere in there, 91?
81.
81. And so what do you do with that the rest of your life? Do you try to share it with people, or you go, I'm clamming up because everyone's looking at me like, okay, yeah, right. And especially if you're a cop or a politician or a pilot or something of that nature, where you can't talk about it because fear of ridicule and maybe losing your job, getting ostracized by your peers. There's Bob over there, he saw a Sasquatch. Well, you don't want to live life like that. So, but these people have come out, and I've just got to tell their stories and let the chips fall where they may. And I've been yanked by the best. You can fool me once, but not 3 or 4 or 5 or a dozen times. And I've heard some good stuff. Crazy off the wall, really off the wall stuff, but these people are just down to earth. I can't do anything but believe them. So that's where I'm at.
Well, and I'm sure, as many reports as you've took, I mean, it's probably crazy to see the similarity sometime of, of reports and what people have had happen to them and encounters. And these people have no clue who that other person are, as far as communication between one another and everything. So, I mean, I'm sure, that similarity just helps you validate a lot of the stories or a lot of the reports that you get.
Yeah. And it all just falls into place, So if you just take the people that believe they exist, or that it's possible they exist, they have an open mind to that point, then the other things you're hearing, they fall into place. I mean, they fall into place with the people that, and like I was telling Ricky before you came on, that the people are telling me their sighting. I was fishing, I was wading in the creek, I had my waders on, I was standing in the middle of the creek, I heard a noise, I looked up, and there's a Sasquatch 40 feet away watching me fish, leaning on a tree. And that's a pretty cool story. Very descriptive. They got the whole thing. They got, the hair color and the size and the hands and the hair and all of that. And at the end of that, now here's something you're not going to believe. So you're telling me a story about a Sasquatch watching you fish while you're wading in the middle of the creek, and you got something better than that. And I think they save it to the end because they want to see if you're going to be laughing, trying to talk them out of what they saw or what they heard or saw and heard. And when you don't, and I don't, because who am I? We talked about earlier. I'm not a judge. I can't judge. I don't know you. I don't know if you're going to BS me or not, but I can just tell the sincerity in your voice, and I know how to interview you. I can ask you the same question 4 or 5 times, and you'll never know I asked you the question more than once. So I can find out if you're yanking my chain. There's a trail of evidence and word clues when you're talking to somebody. You kind of know. And so they save the best to the end, and then the feelings that come gushing out when these people start. Oh my God, I'm so glad to get this off my chest. Oh, geez, you just don't believe it. Oh my God, I've been sitting on this for 12 years or 15 years or whatever. I couldn't even tell my husband. I couldn't tell my wife, and they're so relieved. Unless you're like the greatest actor of all time, that you don't gonna go to that kind of trouble to jerk me around all by myself. You want to jerk the whole world around, but they don't want that. They just want to have a soft place to land and talk about what happened and have somebody listen to them with an open mind. That's what I do. I have an open mind. I don't believe everything, but I consider everything.
Yeah.
You can't believe everything because you got to hang your hat on something, but some of it you just either you don't know, you can't explain it because of your own experience like me, or it fits into certain paradigms. And so you got to just pick and choose. And I picked all the people that I felt were very, very sincere, were so grateful to be able to have, and married couples with kids involved, in these Sasquatch encounters. And, they don't want anything. They want to protect their families and stuff. So you just have to find a spot and start believing some of them, or at least considering them and reporting them and letting the public decide. And most of the time people go, oh my God, I'm so glad I saw this. I'm not exaggerating. It's just like, it's creepy and weird that they've been sitting on it and all this turmoil going on inside them for all these years, mental and physical anguish, of sitting on something that changes their lives forever. It's like seeing an alien, it's the same thing as seeing something that you are told doesn't exist. We've been taught since we were just out of the womb what to believe, how to believe, religion, science. We're groomed. And, the teachers who taught the teachers, who taught the teachers, who taught the teachers, who taught the teachers, go back 10 generations, 25 years a generation. That's 250 years of misinformation because they tell you what they want you to teach, in religion and science, everything, politics. Look at the last, 2020, the COVID. Look at all the crap we listen to. What's the truth, what's not. So we're taught, we're educated. And some of the teachers just teach without even questioning. This is the agenda. This is the curriculum. This is what we're going to teach in 8th grade, 9th grade, freshman year of college. This is what we're going to teach, and this is it. And so if nobody's being honest, well, all you grow up thinking, well, there's no UFOs and there's no Sasquatch. Well, guess what? Now they're admitting 80 years later, oh yeah, there's UFOs. We've known about it all this time.
Yep.
Yeah, we ridiculed and ruined people's lives by, ridiculing them and just ruining them and chasing them into holes. And now they go, oh yeah.
That's the biggest example you can use.
Yeah.
Look, like you just said, UFOs, you were crazy if you spoke on UFO subject for so many years. Mm-hmm. And now the Pentagon, our government's like, oh yeah, we have UFOs. They've admitted it now for the most part. I mean, same with Bigfoot. They're going to be some turning point. They're going to be like, oh yeah, they're going to acknowledge them. I mean,
they have to. Technology, DNA in our cameras, recording system, reporting system, and that will turn the trick. And now that the technology is in our hands, us common folks, like all of us, we can go out with thermal cameras. We can go out with this state of the art audio equipment, video equipment, drones, whatever, and we can present some really, really good cases. But in science, in my book, they're a joke. They're just embarrassing. They are bought and paid for, just like the media. And so they're only going to tell you what they want you to know. And that's all we know is what they want us to know. And they.
Hey, Carter, I got a question for you, bud.
Yep.
As far as mainstream science is concerned and Bigfoot, all we ever hear is the fact that they're not going to, and I don't believe they ever will. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, but all you ever hear is where's the body? Where's the body? We're not going to believe this. We're not going to take this into mainstream consideration without a body. Okay, you've got groups out here now that go out on a daily basis and try to kill these things. Well, my feelings is, we're a no-kill group. Straight up. I'm not going to kill one of these creatures just to prove that they actually exist.
Yeah.
That's my feeling. What's yours on that?
I'm no kill, and I agree with what you said totally. And the government does have bodies.
That's what I was about to say. Of course they do. I mean, we have DNA evidence. Yeah. It's just not going to be acknowledged as being actual real DNA evidence.
The lumber companies, the Forestry Service, the paper companies, the government. In my book, I wrote about who the big lobbyists are. Social media is one of the biggest, the paper and lumber industry, including the Forestry Service. They got huge budgets. We can shut this up all day long, so they know what's going on, and I rip them up. Classic science. If you want to know how to make a battery out of a potato or the life cycle of a gerbil, go for it. Science, you got it pegged, you got it down. But other than that, it's baloney. They only tell because knowledge is power, and we control it, and you have nothing. So we'll trickle it out. In the meantime, we'll ridicule you. And the Sasquatch world is so disjointed. The groups are hateful, nasty. You believe that? You said that? You're out of your mind? Look at all the red circles. And we look like fools. We really do, because we're fighting amongst ourselves. And they're just sitting back there going, look at that.
Somebody's always got to be right. That's the problem, and that's the problem with life in general nowadays. Anyways, I mean, you can't just come all together and not ridicule somebody's view on something or what they think about something, and that happens in the Bigfoot world. I mean, and for you to be in something like a cryptic, the cryptic world, you. Just with that being said, you can't discredit anybody's theories or anybody's information or whatever. I mean, you're crazy yourself if you look at it that way.
Yeah. Name one expert on Sasquatch. Expert. I know everything about Sasquatch. Name one person.
They're not.
The list is short. It's like zero. Yep. There's no experts.
You have experts in certain fields and certain aspects of it, but not in a whole.
Yeah, you have one person's going to have more knowledge than the next, but that doesn't mean that person who has less knowledge is any less valid, because we all should be pitching in together and trying to figure this out with a common goal. But everybody wants to be first. Everybody wants to find the body, get that $10 million payday when you find the body and it's proven to be real. So that's driving everybody, and it's ego. It's my group. We got 3,000 members. Whoop-de-doo. You're fighting amongst yourself. You're posting blob squatches. Who cares? That proves nothing. Like you said, they want a body. Well, they have them. We don't. That's the problem, and they know what's going on.
Well, and just say for just shits and giggles, that you come across a body and you take it somewhere to have, take it to a lab somewhere or wherever it ends up, that body's going to disappear.
Yeah.
It won't be there very long if it ever makes it there.
Yeah. Look at all the skeletons they unearthed. 11, 10, 9-foot tall skeletons unearthed in all the mounds all across the country. The Lovelock Cave out in Nevada, where they found those humongous skulls. And I've got pictures of them in the little rock shop that's in Loveland before they disappeared,
Yeah.
So, it's a comedy of errors. And in the book, I'm trying to I say what we need to do is have some unity. And I realized as soon as I said that, that's a joke. No one's going to, agree to work together because there's too many egos and there's too many people that don't want to share and stuff. So we're stuck with that. In the meantime, we're killing each other. Yeah, we're killing each other off. The government just sits there and goes, look at those people, they're fools. Oh my God. It's a comedy. If I want some laughs, I'll go on the Facebook or some of the internet and just look at some of these groups trashing everybody, and they're sniping. It's counterproductive. It's so stupid. It's just, God, I get so frustrated. So, but here, I tell you what, this cover, I want to tell you something. So, see on that tree limb there is 5 rocks on one end and 1 rock on the other end. Right over here is 1 rock, and here are 5. This one right here, that's me. These 4 are the 4 expedition goers that I took out in 2019 in Illinois. I'm going to tell you the story. Unless you got some questions, I just want to try to prove a point that there's some weird stuff going on out there. So anyway, I led an expedition in 2019 in Illinois, and I wasn't going to do it, but they had this expedition for BFRO, and they had, I guess, a bunch of people sign up, and then the person who was going to do it canceled. Couldn't do it, had a family emergency or whatever. So they took it off the books. Well, there was a bunch of people that still wanted to go. So I got an APB email. Does anybody want to do an expedition in Illinois? We got some people that have already paid. They want to go. I was going, well, yeah, I've got a buddy that lives there. He's an old Sasquatch buddy who lives in Illinois, and I thought he could help me. So I said, I'll do it. But by the time I got to it, there was only 6 people left that wanted to go. 2 of them bailed out because they got tired of waiting to see if they were actually going to do it. So I took it. And so I took this group out, and it was me and 4 people that paid money and my partner. And we went out to this area, which is absolutely taboo to go in late at night. There's nobody in this town that will go anywhere near this area at night because it's got a bunch of weird stuff going on. Even the baddest macho hunter won't go there at night. They just won't. There's too much weird stuff. If I told you where it was exactly, you'd understand immediately. But I'm trying to protect the site because I'm still working it. So we took them there. We found about 3 or 4. Actually, we found 5 footprints. We cast 3 of them. And the expedition was Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Actually, it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I was there 2 days early. And so we found the prints and we cast them. We went back the next day. I went ahead and left them overnight, let them dry and cure real good. They were not all in the same spot. They're about 25 yards between the 3 main prints. We went back to see them the next day. Each set of prints had a tree pushed over from the right side of this ravine. You walk downhill this ravine. There was 3 trees pushed over, hiding the footprints that were there the day before. Those trees were not pushed over the day before. Okay, I've had that happen before. They're watching you. Maybe they're saying hello, or maybe they don't want you in their little area. So I pointed that out to the people, and they were like, "Oh, that's cool. That's cool." And so, long story short, we went out there at night and had an incredible event happening all night. These creatures were, you could hear them. It's about 100 yards from the top of the parking lot down to the bottom where I was going to go, because there were some trees that had been pushed over long before these I was talking about, and they've been blocking this trail forever. So that was going to be my stopping point. By the time we got to that stopping point, these creatures were throwing sticks and pebbles and twigs at us from both sides, and they're probably 20, 25 feet up, because it's a deep, deep ravine, and it used to carry a lot of water. So by the time we got down there, you could hear them rummaging around. You could hear moving. You could hear some, sticks breaking, and you could hear huge bipedal movement, but they were not communicating. They weren't like whistling or howling or grunting, nothing. It was quiet, which is kind of unnerving, because usually if they are overt with something they're doing, you go, okay, well, at least I know it's not a bear, So anyway, we got down there, and that was pretty much the end of the night. We decided to go back for the night. It was late. And my partner and I, who was, was physically unable to make the trip all the way down the ravine. So he stayed in the parking lot by his car while we went down. The next night, we went back to see if we could relive what was going on. We gathered our prints the next day, and everything was cool. It was pretty cool prints. And he stayed at the campsite, and I took the 4 people back down the same place. Well, that was Saturday night, and that Saturday was the start of hunting season. So there was no activity at all, because there'd been gunfire, there'd been hunting, their season's open, so there's nothing going on. So we went home and everything was all good. So I decided to meet my partner there a year later. It was October of 2019. October 2020, I met my partner back there. We went back down to where we had the trees pushed over. We went down a little further, and there was 2 giant trees pushed over. So I decided, well, let's just leave a couple of trail cams here, and I will come back in the morning. This was a Tuesday and a Wednesday when we went down there. It was 1 year to the day of the 2019 expedition in Illinois. We just wanted to see if it still had the same magic and karma and feel. We went back, and it still felt creepy. And so we saw 2 more trees, giant trees. They were both pushed over from the left-hand side, and they were covering up the trees that were originally there in the first place, that had been there for years. So I thought, well, I'm going to leave a camera here, and I'll come back Wednesday morning on my way back out of town, back to Missouri. So I left a couple of trail cams there, and we went back the next morning. And so we left about 2 o'clock that afternoon, which was a Tuesday. I went back at 8:30 in the morning to get my cameras. On this log, which was blocking the trail, was the 5 rocks and my buddy at the other end. I lost my you-know-what. I went, oh my God, they're counting us. That's me and the 4 people, and that's you because you stayed back at camp. Now, people do this, nature lovers, they go out and hike, and people stack rocks, and they do things like that. They put feathers on the rocks, and they mark their trail. But this was during COVID. We were there till about 2 o'clock Tuesday. They would have had to get there after we left and have been gone by 8:30 the next morning if it was humans. Could have been, but those 5 rocks represent me. I'm the leader. It's pointing. The 4 people behind me were the 4 actual expedition goers. My buddy Harold was the other guy at the other end of the rock. He stayed at the parking lot one night and back at camp the other night because he has trouble walking. They knew I was coming back the next morning to get my cameras because they were probably watching us. Now, this is fantastical, but it couldn't have been anything. It hit me. I was almost teary eyed. I was just like, oh my God, they're counting us. They knew we were coming back. They knew I was coming back to get my cameras. That's the exact number of people on the expedition. 4, me, the other. You have to have an open mind and think of the possibility that this actually happened. Yes, nature lovers, naturalists will come out and stack rocks and sit on trees, down trees, and do things of this nature. But that's the exact number of people on the expedition. That is my buddy who stayed behind. And there's another picture in the book of 2 rocks together at the end of a stump. And they're both a little different because I'm taller and slender and he is a little shorter and rounder. And those rocks kind of matched him. And I even took them back to my car and dusted them for prints. Of course, there were none, but I had to just see if I got lucky and there was prints. Occam's razor, you familiar with that principle? The simplest explanation is usually the best when you're trying to figure out what's happening. In science, it's a scientific term, Occam's razor. Is it y'all heard of it? I guess.
I think so. Yes.
Yeah, it's a principle that when you're faced with a decision or a quandary as to what is the most likely explanation of an unknown event, this goes into quantum science. It goes into black holes. Anything. The simplest explanation is if you have to go to extremes to come up with an answer to explain something, then that's probably not it. Well, of course, this sounds, extreme, but it's not really extreme because it's the same. And these were not there the day before. 18 hours before, they weren't there. And this is COVID. Nobody's getting out. Nobody's doing things. They're not going out and doing anything. You're in COVID. You're going home. You don't have any money. You're broke. You don't have a job. With COVID, crashed the whole world. And, I released my first book the day they shut the country down. Good timing, that was just, what the heck was I thinking? But how do you know that, So, but that happened. If anything else, my explanation is as good as anything else you could come up with. Hikers went by the next day, later that afternoon, after work, before it got dark. Now, October, so it's dark by 5:30. So there's not a lot of time to go do that kind of stuff. In my world, this is like as good an explanation as anything else because it's numerology, it's synchronicity. It's just like that was not there and then it was overnight. And what are the odds that the exact numbers are matching up? It's out there.
And that goes back to the point that I had brought up earlier when you and I were talking before the show. Most people consider the Sasquatch as being just the ones that believe in it. They believe that these creatures are just dumb animals or dumb monkeys out there running around in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
With that goes to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that these are not just dumb animals out there running around.
No.
These creatures, Blake and I have sat and listened to these creatures actually speak, not like you and I are speaking now, but you could tell that they were actually talking to one another.
Yep.
It sounded like I don't know. They were talking in a language, but it sounded like no syllables being used. If that makes any sense. Right.
Yep.
That's it.
Samurai chatter.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's what I did the night of the expedition. When I couldn't get any reaction out of these creatures, we were just standing there. I went and did my best samurai chatter, and the woods went crazy. You could hear them running down closer. You could hear footsteps, branches crashing. They were freaking out over that samurai chatter. And I took that out of Ron Moorhead's example of his samurai chatter in his book. If you haven't heard the Sierra Sounds, boy, listen to that stuff. Yeah. That will blow your mind. And and so I did that. I went, hoi, konnichiwa, hoi, and everyone's looking at me, what? And the woods exploded. And they still were not making any vocalizations. They were in absolute silence, which I thought there still was just unnerving, because usually when you do something like that, you get a knock or a big rock thrown or something. But they were very cool and collected. They're studying us and watching us. It was odd. I've been watched before. Everyone's been watched. You're getting watched.
They were probably at all like, he knows how to talk to us.
Yeah, it was bizarre, and everybody in the group was going, "Oh my God, what was that?" I said, "Well, that was in the the first book I wrote," and so and I hadn't written the book yet, but I was that was in Ron's book. It was I took it right out of that, and that event and the one that I saw disappear on my thermal camera and explode in a flash. And Blake, you weren't here, I think, when I was talking to Ricky about it, but when I was leading an expedition in Missouri, 2014, I watched one come around a corner on my thermal. It was night, about 11:30, and one step, two step, three, boom! It just flashed, and it disappeared in a flash of light. And what it looked like was a smoke ring in the shape of a Sasquatch. That's exactly what it looked like, this flash. And then it was just this, like somebody blew a smoke ring, and it just kind of, that was it.
Ricky, that photo that your what, brother-in-law, brother?
No, my brother.
That's exactly what that looks like.
And Carter, I'm going to send you a photo that my brother, who is 80 years old, okay, to set the stage on this, he lives up in Chatsworth, Georgia, just outside small town of Chatsworth. He has like 10 dogs that run loose there on his property, on 6 acres up there that adjoins Inland Craft, I think it is, woodland up there. But he had told me that before he got this picture, that he'd had these dogs of his for 2 or 3 nights, had been barking, raising sand. Okay, the night that he actually took this picture, he's got a set of sliding glass windows in his, or sliding glass doors in his living room, at the back side of his living room. And he said the dogs earlier in the night had barked around a few times, and then all of a sudden, all the dogs were in the house, up under the house. And he said he heard a racket outside, and he stepped out there with his phone, and he got the picture of one of the wildest looking things I've ever saw. I actually sent this picture to a good friend of mine in Texas. He enlarged the picture, sent it back to me, and the enlargement that he made of the picture, you can actually see the facial features and all on this. But as Blake said, that's what it looks like. It looks like,
best way to explain it, it's like you see the outline of what looks like a Bigfoot, but it's got this aura around it, and like it blurs the like it's hard to explain. Like it blurs the image on the inside of the aura, but you can kind of still see it. But like there's no explanation for this picture. Like you can't. I mean, this guy he's older. He's not. I mean, far as computer generated, that's not happening. It's
hoaxing.
I don't know. Like, there's no chance for hoaxing. Like you can't replicate this. I mean,
well, send it to me. I won't share it, but I'd love to see it, because that sounds like what I saw. And had I not been leading a BFRO expedition with some very narrow-minded goobers, as I say, because they're just ignorant and they're self-centered and they only believe one way, and there's my way or the highway, and that's it. I didn't say anything. I said something to a couple of the guys that I know and trust, and they believe in the possibility of the paranormal quantum aspects of these things. And so we went out the next day and recreated that event. And that creature was probably 75 feet away from me, 8 foot tall, because I had a guy go out and stand by the tree at night so we could recreate it on thermal. So he had his hand up in the air so he could put his hand up, and I said, no, lower it a little bit, because we went to the exact spot. So I had the tree. So I had him lower his hand to about, that's about it. So where's that? Well, it's about 7 3/4 of a foot, almost 8 feet. So that all panned out. So, but that's cool stuff. And see, you and I don't know each other, and you're telling me a story based on the story I told you, and go, that sounds just like.
Exactly.
You see what I mean?
That's what we were just talking about earlier. The similarities that people don't even realize between encounters. I mean, or evidence, or whatever.
Mm-hmm. And so these people that are coming forward with these tales, oh my God, I've got a guy, there's another couple, they're actually in Tennessee. This is an interesting story. And their kids have had fuzzy bears. That's what they call them, the kids. Fuzzy bears come to their windows often at night and kind of peek in the window while they're sleeping, and they'll sense them and wake up and see them, and they'll wave. And, it's like their secret friend. You don't want to tell your parents about it because that's my secret, imaginary friend, but it's not really imaginary because it's real. And so they're up in the mountains, and they're so far away from civilization that she stayed home and homeschooled the kids. So when they had a good lesson and a good day, she would take them outside on the deck in the back of the house, and they are in the middle of nowhere. Nowhere. Nearest neighbor is probably 4 miles away. And so they go out on the back deck and they'll play, they have a cockatiel that they took outside with them because the cockatiel liked to be around the family. It talked and everything. So they would play the song, "You're Happy and You Know It, Clap Your Hands." You know that song?
Oh, yeah.
And when they had a good day, they'd go out and have some snacks and Kool-Aid and some candy and some crackers and snacks and kind of a party from schooling. And the bird would, when you're happy and you know it, clap your hand, rock, rock. It would make this noise, or it would do something with its beak. It would kind of snap its beak, so it could click its beak. So it made a noise. Pretty soon, something in the forest was joining in with rock clacks or hand claps or knocks. When you're happy and you know it, clap your hand, clop, clop, rock clacking. So these creatures were joining in. They only joined in when the bird made the sounds, not the mom or the boys. Cool. And they go, "Is that our fuzzy bear?" So, and she sent me a video of their bird singing to the song. And so this bird was doing what she said it was their bird. So she played it, and I could see it clicking its beak, or rock, rock, happy, rock, 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 or he'd whistle weird. Something in the Sasquatch creatures, which they've seen often, were joining in on the singing.
Yeah.
Just, that's not even weird. That's just.
They love to mimic or, join in as far as that aspect goes. I mean,
yeah.
Not to go into a story, but basically, I mean, we've actually experienced not something like that, but far as a response with a howl, like a doppelganger type of response. Like Ricky made a howl, and I've never heard. It was almost like something recorded it and played it back. Like Ricky howled, and no sooner than Ricky stops howling, Ricky howled again, and he didn't howl.
Yeah.
This thing actually. We were down at the lake, Lake Altoona, a place that we do quite a bit of investigations down there, and we'd walk about 1.5 miles from where we'd parked at over around the lake. Blake and his dad was with us. We went over this big rock area where Blake had actually had his original sighting down there. And we were standing there talking when we started to leave, got back down to the edge of the lake, and the lake was probably what at that time about 60, 80 yards across there, I guess. And
not very far.
Yeah, just a channel that come in off the main lake. But Blake told me, said, Rick, do a howl before we leave. So I did. I done a howl, and man, no more than I had stopped howling. Whatever it was on the opposite bank from us up in the tree line. That thing howled back, sounded identical to my howl, all except it was just a lot deeper than what mine was, but identical to it. And dude, you're talking about running a cold chill up my back. And this is the first time that Blake's dad had actually heard one of them howl. And I look around, I had a heart attack about, I don't know, 3 or 4 months before this. Okay, I look around, Blake and his dad are gone. I get back to the truck 5 minutes later, they're both in the truck. Johnny rolls the window down, his dad does, looks out the window at me and says, hey man, I didn't have to outrun Sasquatch. All I had to do is outrun you.
That's good. Now you know what he means, what you mean to him.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave your butt if I have to. Your history. But see, stuff like this, and how does she make that up? If you're going to prank me, you know what I mean? The stories are just so down to earth and real, and
you would have to go through a lot of planning to tell the story. Far as if you were just telling a lie, you'd have to write a book before you tell the story.
Yeah. And I will interview you 5 times, and I'll find you screwing up on 3 of them. Yeah. I will. Yeah. I just will. But that's exactly right, because you can't. You can make it up, but to be consistent and just off the wall and sincere, and you don't want anything. I just got to. What does this person, this mother homeschooling her 2 kids in the middle of nowhere in Tennessee, what does she have to gain? If she wanted to gain something, my name is Bobby Joe Smith. I live at 1219, Mountain View Holler, and I'd like 5 free books and $100 for telling you this story. But what do you want? And they're in the book, and so they've all got everybody that contributed to the book, their stories. I sent them a book, and they can't even tell their friends that that's us because the names are changed, and they pick the name. You pick your name. Who do you want to be? Earl and Darlene. Okay, that's who we are. You're Earl and Darlene. That's not their real names, so that's the names they picked. So you want nothing but to share your events. And they got other stories, but that one's just, I thought it's not too far out there. It involves the kids, and they're letting the kids experience these creatures. They're letting them experiencing them as long as nothing weird happens, and if they come up to the windows at night and tap on the glass and, hey, you sleep, they let them go through it because they want it. They want it. Not the parents, the kids. We like them. It's cool. It's an adventure. We're out in the middle of nowhere, and we got this big hairy bear, the fuzzy bears, as they call them, coming to our windows at night. What a cool story. It's just cool stuff. And that's all these people, all they want is to get it off.
It's going to help those kids realize things in life that, like you were talking earlier, a lot of people only know what they're taught. So many people are so closed-minded to just think outside the box. We, far as just like us as humans, we know very little about ourselves. You can't say that all this stuff is not possible. We know very little about why we're here, Earth, everything.
Yeah. Well, if you get into it, the Sasquatch people have probably been here a whole lot longer than we have. They've got powers and skill sets that we may have had as humans eons ago, but we progressed it out of ourselves. We made cars, computers, everything does things for us. We do very little for ourselves except, get your key fob and start your car and crank up your computer.
We become domesticated.
Yeah, we have. They are vastly superior to us if you just think about it. They're in tune with nature.
Right.
We can't even.
That's what I tell everybody. That's the point I try to get across to everybody in all our shows is the fact that these creatures are far more advanced to deal with nature and to deal with their everyday surroundings and what they have to do to survive than what we are.
Yeah.
You take us, true. Man, I was talking to a guy the other day, and I told him, I said, you take the human species, for instance. If our national power grid went down, say it went down all the way across the country, how long do you think we as a species would survive in today's world?
Some of us a while, some.
Yeah, I was about to say, I mean, there are people that would survive, but not many.
Yeah. No, that's exactly right. Because we're helpless. We're virtually the only creature that can't see hardly anything at night without a flashlight. These creatures can see. I mean, they just laugh at us. It's a joke. We're helpless little babies compared to these beings, and they are a people. They are beings. They're not animal. I mean, we're all animals, but they're an animal like we are. We're all on the same planet. And I think they're vastly superior. They have skill sets that we don't have and can't imagine. Who built the pyramids? Who built the Mayan ruins? Who built all of these? Stonehenge. 50,000 Nubian slaves with wooden rollers taking a 40-ton block up.
You think the same way I do.
It's just so stupid, but they only tell us what they want us to know, and they tell us how we know it. Well, and they've done experiments. They take these wooden logs that are supposedly the type they used. You put a 20-ton block of granite on a log, it's going to crush it. I mean, they're not going to roll those up. They're going to get 20,000 slaves dragging a rock up.
It makes no sense. It makes no sense. Like, I mean, it is impossible. I mean, even with the technology we have today, it would be almost. I mean, I don't even know if we could recreate it now.
I think they say they can't. With the cuts.
Then explain the cuts exactly. I mean, how are you going to replicate those cuts? I mean, it takes a laser. We couldn't even do it now. Be as precise as some of those cuts are. How was it done then?
Mm-hmm. Oh, laser, levitation. I mean, pick something. An energy source we have no knowledge of as of today. Yep. Of course, we're the peons, so we're not going to know it until they tell us. So we're just fool. We're the sheep, and they're not. And that's power has dominion over the animals, and so it's just crazy. Infrasound and mind speak, telepathy. Ron Moorhead, and I would get the Sierra Sounds or the book that goes with it if you don't have it, and the Quantum Sasquatch, Quantum Bigfoot. Incredible stuff. After they had this encounter with these beings, there was 4 or 5 of the guys, and they huddled in their lean-to that they made. Have y'all heard any of the Sierra Sounds or the?
Yeah.
Well, they were huddled in there, and they listened to these creatures destroying their camp. They had big garbage cans they left up there. They were chained together, and they kept their firewood and snacks and food that they come back, after 6 months or years, still be there and be all good. And so they heard them destroying their camp, throwing their stuff down the side of a mountain, ripping trees up, tearing up tents, and just beating everything together, running the horses off. After it subsided, I can't remember what time it was. It was very late in the morning, very late at night, early in the morning. And they went outside. Nothing had happened. They all heard it. It was either, mental telepathy. It was mass hypnosis that they all heard it and going, "Oh my God, we got to go gather up the horses and find our saddles and all the stuff they threw down the mountainside. We got no food. The firewood's gone. Oh crap!" It was all a show. They all just heard it because the Sasquatch imposed that sound and that event in their heads. They all were experiencing the same thing, and they all had the same thing. Oh God, oh geez, we might as well just go home. Nothing had happened, yet they all heard it. How do you explain that? And it happened to my wife and I in Missouri when I took her to one of my research areas, which became my research area because it's the same area where I saw that Sasquatch disappear. Although I came to that area from another direction, not, you got time for this?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah.
Okay. There's a gate that goes across this ravine. This is a really rocky, jagged ravine. It used to be a path. I think ATVs and stuff used to go down there, but the rocks became jagged and exposed, and from water running down there, it was just really impassable for vehicles. So they put a big steel gate at the conservation area. It goes across the path. There's room for one car to park. So I backed my SUV into there, and I took my wife out there. I said, I want to show you one of my areas. And I was hoping something would happen, but you know how it is when you plan on something. I'll show you. I'll prove it. And of course, nothing happens. You look like a fool. So I just wanted to take her so she could see where I spend time and where I've had things happen. So we start walking down the ravine, and she's immediately creeped out. And I'm getting creeped out too, but I'm used to it. It's that, that infrasound. It's that hair standing up in the back of your neck, that creepy look that somebody's watching you. That feeling, that sense. So I'm taking her down there, and she's creeping out and starts, we need to leave. We just need to go. I believe you. We need to go. I said, no. We have to go to the bottom here, because we're at the bottom was where the creature had walked around the corner when I was leading my expedition. And I wanted to take her to that spot. And at the time, I was feeling the same thing, but I knew what it was, and I wasn't too worried about it because I'm used to that. It's not necessarily the most comfortable feeling because, someone's got control over your mental facilities to a degree, but you're going ahead because nothing's ever bad happened. About halfway down, she's freaking out. I'm saying, look, the car is just right up there, and I shine my light up where I park my car. It ain't there. Where's my car? Where's the car? She goes, it's right there. I said, no, it's gone. Look, I shine the light again. It's not there. I said, look, let's just go. I'm turned around. Then I realized, okay, they're jacking with me. So I said, we're just going down here to this spot right down here. And I shine my light at the bottom of the ravine. That's where I see my car, where it's not possible for it to be there. Not possible. I said, look, how did a car get down here? Okay, I don't know. How'd the car get down there? I'm shining my light. She's going, your car's not there. It's up there. I shine my light. No, it's not up there. It's down here. And I shine my light, and there it is. You take me out of here now. And I said, look, I'm not taking you back up. Oh, shit. There's my car. It was where I parked it. I shine my light back down to the bottom of the ravine, and it's gone. I'm going, okay, let's go. So it's like, but it's like, I knew what they were doing, but here's an example. That's why I brought this up, because Ron Moorhead's group, hearing something that they all hear, and they know they're all hearing it. They're all discussing it. Oh God, this is going to be a mess. Oh Jesus, we're screwed. The same thing. When they went outside, there was nothing had happened. It was strictly a mental illusion so that these creatures could maybe escape, get away without being detected and followed. And my wife and I were within 2 feet of each other. She's getting creeped out just because of the vibe. And I'm fairly certain I was putting some money on it that it's infrasound or something of that nature that was creeping her out. I am hallucinating and seeing something.
You just added to the.
I'm a victim of my own circumstances, but it was just like, I'm down here experiencing that and it's not really happening. And I knew when I was looking at it, it can't happen. That can't be. How did I didn't park down there. I parked, what the WTF? I was just like, but I knew what the answer was. At the time, the exact moment it was going, I said, okay, wait, I'm not under the influence. And so there's an example of 2 people being influenced by the same power source and seeing 2 entirely different things. Ron Moorhead's group hearing the same thing that all 4 or 5 of them were hearing, and that when they went outside, their camp had not been touched. I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, it's some type of mental telepathy. It's the infrasound. If you done any research on infrasound, they can, infrasound can make you hallucinate. They use it in Sound Cannon to dispel crowds over in Europe. They don't use it here because it's kind of cruel, but it can tear up your guts and make you hallucinate. It's very uncomfortable. Lions, tigers, dolphins, all many, many, many creatures use it to communicate. So that was a classic example. And, I wanted to be able to explain it like, well, that tuna fish we had was crap. I must have given me some kind of, gas or something. I was just hallucinating because I was getting sick. But no, it was just, how do you explain that? We weren't doing anything. We weren't smoking, drinking, nothing. We were just there. And it happened. And that just, and that's the same spot where I saw the one dissipate into thin air. I was within 50, 60 feet of where the one, when it came around the corner and disappeared when I was leading the expedition. That's the same spot. So you add it all up. It's just, I'm not crazy. I'm not hallucinating. My wife's not. She's in the medical field. She's, she was crazy. She wouldn't be in the medical field, So it's just like, it is what it is. Can't take it away from me. That's one thing I point out in the book. It's these people's reality of the things they are experiencing. It's their reality. You can't take it away from them. You can make fun or ridicule and scoff at them all you want. But the ones that stick to their guns, I don't care what you say. That's what I saw. That's what me and my husband saw. That's what me and 5 other people saw. And you can't take it away from me. You can try, but you can't, because it happened. It's my reality. Nana, nana, boo, boo. You can't do anything about it. So that's what all this is in the book. It's just the stuff in here is from everyday people telling their everyday events. They work a regular 9-to-5 blue collar job. They go camping for a weekend, and oh my God, their world has changed. And not because it ran across the road in front of their car, but because of some other stuff. I could go on, but that's the nature of, there's more to these creatures than flesh and blood. And if you're stuck in that narrow-minded paradigm of flesh and blood, more power to you. You're going to have a dead end nearly every time you try to explain something other than, I saw a Sasquatch cross the road, or I saw it while I was fishing. I mean, those all happen. Those are all great, exciting things. But the other stuff, the esoteric, abstract stuff, is just like, you can't explain it away. I mean, you can if you're
the actual one-on-one experiences, pretty much.
Yeah. I can never convince you, Rick, you, Blake, that the things you say happened, or your brother, Rick. I cannot tell you there's no way. No, that he must have been, drunk or having an episode or epileptic seizure or something, whatever I want to come up with to explain it, because it doesn't fit my narrow-minded paradigm. I can't take that away. That happened. You're convinced, and you know your brother better than anybody else. You know your dad. I mean, the stuff happened. You've seen it. You've experienced it. So how do you let somebody pigeonhole you into a corner and tell you it didn't happen? You'll never believe it didn't happen. You'll just shut up. You just won't
And
talk about
guys,
it.
as I always say, I'm not a believer, I'm a knower. I know
Yeah.
what I saw in 1981. I know what happened to me on uh, Big Frog Mountain in 1984. I know what happened to me in Blake in 2011. Other instances that we've had. I know that these creatures are out there. I know they exist. That's what I tell everyone. You
Mhm.
know, if you experience it, you're not going to believe it.
Yeah.
Really, you're not.
And
I experienced it. I know what's out there. I know what's in these woods. I know what's in the mountains around here in North Georgia, all around the country. You know, people are so narrow-minded that they don't believe that these creatures could actually exist. You know,
yeah.
I'm all the time. I have people ask me, you know, how in the world is something that weighs 1,000 pounds and stands 8 foot tall going to stay hid in these woods and us not see it? Well, you're not going to see it unless they want you to see it,
Mm-hmm.
and that's my
That's
belief.
true.
Well,
Yeah.
and too, those people that say that are one people that never get out in the woods. I mean, we live in an area that, I mean, especially you go over towards Blue Ridge. I mean, like, if you go 10 miles out in the woods, you could be lost forever. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
because, you could walk until you just walk no more. I mean, there's so much land that people don't inhabit.
Some of it's never been seen by humans or
Mm-hmm.
explored. Especially if you go up into Canada and Alaska, there's thousands and thousands of square miles that have never no, as far as anyone knows, no one's mapped it. No one's even been up there because number one, why? Because you've got everything you need down here, so that's just where the big creatures are. I don't want to mess with. So when you go into places like you're talking about, where men are men and sheep are nervous because there ain't nothing up there, except trouble. Well, nobody goes. So yeah, it's just you have to have an open mind and at least listen to these people, and it is mind-boggling. And we're turning a corner, I feel, because people that are interested don't want the same meat and potato explanation that really explains nothing. Well, I don't believe that because it can't happen. How come it can't happen? Because I don't believe it. So if I say so, well, that's what I think. Well, gee, that's scientific. Gee, please write me a book. I'll buy 5 of them, with that paradigm. What is it, about 4 pages, and that's it. You know. So, and I had no intention of writing a book, but all of this stuff just started happening. I said, I gotta do this. I gotta write it. And then all these other people came after me after the first book, and I just like, oh my gosh. And there's going to be some eye rolls. There's people are going to watch your show and listen to it and go, "That guy's nuts." Yeah, right. He's just making that up. Well, no, I'm not. But I can't help you with what you think, and I can't change your mind. The only person that's going to change your mind is you, and you got to have an open mind and just consider things. You don't have to believe them, but at least consider it. You might find how easy it is to explain some of the things you hear, maybe you've experienced yourself, if you just consider it. Nobody has to know. It's going to be our secret. It's like I call it the Brussels sprouts theory. Nobody likes Brussels sprouts. So we'll put them on your plate so your host doesn't get insulted. You'll spread them around on the plate. It looks like you're kind of eating them and playing with them. So it's the same thing with these theories. We'll put them on the plate, spread them around, look at them, and maybe eat one, maybe eat two, just to make them happy, but consider it. Just consider it. Nobody has to know. Nobody has to know you have an open mind. You can be the closed-minded person that you are. There's nothing wrong with that. If that's what let me say this: we believe what we believe 50% or more because of what we're told as children. We're molded as children by
Yeah, we're not supposed to have monsters running around in the woods. I mean, they're not monsters, but I mean that's the way you look at it. I mean that's just what most people are gonna perceive it as. I mean, we're not supposed to have these things running around or in our world. We're not supposed to have UFOs. We're not supposed to have all these paranormal things happening that we can't explain scientifically or with an easy answer.
Yeah, no, we're not. But you know why? Because they told us.
Mm-hmm.
They told us that. Well, what is your knowledge base? Well, because I read it in a book. Well, who wrote the book? They did.
Guys, we had our spring camp out a couple of weeks ago. I ran into a guy. I think Blake met him down there at the camp out. Guy, 73 years old, told me that he spent anywhere from 3 to 6 months a year in the woods, trout fishing, turkey hunting, deer hunting, and I had approached him about the subject of Bigfoot. Well, he told me flat out, oh, hell, these things can't exist. I've been in the woods 73 years. I've never seen anything like that. I've never had anything like that happen to me. Well, I told him, I said, well, buddy, you may live another 40 years. You may never have nothing like this happen. But when you do, I gave him a card. I said, call me and we'll talk. And that's the only way I ended it with that. You just run across people that are so closed-minded, and even though they're out there, they've never had anything, they've never experienced anything like this, so they don't believe it.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. And I tell you what, I've heard from so many hunters whose life has changed forever. One of them admitted to wedding he pissed his pants when this creature was 25 feet away from him. So what manly macho hunter is going to admit a weak moment that scared me so bad I actually pissed my pants? I've heard that term. We all have heard it. Scared the piss out of you. Well, that actually happens. And so who's going to admit that to a perfect stranger? That I know every creature in these woods. I can't tell you what it was, but I darn sure know what it wasn't. It wasn't no bear, wasn't a deer, wasn't a guy in a ghillie suit. It wasn't, a blob squatch. It wasn't a tree stump that moved in the wind and suddenly, they can't explain it. And so that changes them. And there's some, really, badass guys that, I know everything and I thought I knew everything. And they're admitting to me that, well, I thought I knew everything, but oh my God, this just changed everything, Yeah. And so, yeah. And so the first book is got a little of everything. The second one here is got more of really off the chart stuff that you really ought to believe, because I guarantee you people are going to read this and be calling me or emailing me from the website. Oh my God, you've got to listen to my story. Oh my God, it'll happen because it happened with the first book, and I had no intent. I mean, I didn't know I was going to be scratching the surface or something like that. I just thought people were going, okay, you're crazy. But no, it's been the other way around. They're coming out of the woodwork. And these are people whose reports you will never see on many of the large information gathering Sasquatch sites. You just won't see it, or they'll be altered so bad you won't even recognize them because they don't want to deal with it, and that's not fair. That's not fair to the public. It's not fair to the people who are spilling their guts thinking they're going to, they would be happy to hear from other people that had the same experience. They don't even care if you or I or any of us read it. They'd like to hear from somebody else. I put several of them in contact with other people, and they're like so grateful that, they found somebody else who believes and had the same experience or something very, very similar. That's abstract, quantum theory, paranormal, metaphysical, whatever you want to call it, And there's too many people saying this stuff. It's out there. It is. I don't mean it's out there like it's out there like it's happening. It's out there. It's going on. And the more disinformation that's put out there by some of the big reporting groups, well, it's just, shame on them. I feel bad. I feel bad for them, but, maybe I get myself in trouble. Maybe I don't. I don't really care, because it's not fair that these people are going through these things and have no one to share it with, I'll give you one.
You're just telling the story, how. Yep,
Yeah,
you're just telling their story for them.
I'm the messenger. That's it. I got one more quick one, or you want to? You got to go
Nah, go ahead.
real quick. This guy up in New England. He is a successful business owner and does real well. He was having to remodel his cabin. They live on a large group of acres, up in New England area, heavy forest. They had a small cabin. They just had a baby, and the wife was pregnant with another one. So he was on top of running his daytime business, which is a very successful operation. He was subcontracting. He was kind of getting all the workers together to add the room onto his cabin. So the wife and the kid, the pregnant wife and the kid, moved out and staying with parents. They shut off the electricity, and so they're remodeling the house. They're like tripling the size of the cabin in the middle of the woods. So anyway, and after running his business, he would be about 11 o'clock, 11:30 at night. He would be getting all the tools and putting everything away, and their workers show up the next morning. So he's out there with his guard dog, his 110-pound German Shepherd, trained attack dog, putting tools away. And they had a couple of sightings before. His wife had heard some things, and he had seen something on his neighbor's property, watching him while he was working. So he saw the Sasquatch walking at him at night, just out in the middle of nowhere where they live. And it was walking toward him, and the dog, which is a trained attack dog, a German Shepherd, a big badass dog, was just sitting there looking. It's trained to go after anybody that's not friendly, not part of the family. So he sees this thing. He shines the light. It's walking right at him. It's probably, 25, 30 yards away. He grabs the last bit of the tools and runs them into the house, grabs the dog, and they run to this travel trailer that he is living in on the property while the wife is staying at her parents', and he's using that as his base of operations. They slam the door. They are hiding in there. They know this creature is coming at them, and there's more to the story. I'm cliff notesing it so we can get out of here. And so he realizes, he left his gun out in the car. So he scrounges around in the kitchen. He finds a carving knife in the kitchen. So him and the dog get in the bathroom of this 30-foot travel trailer. You know how big a bathroom is on a 30-foot trailer? About that big, And so they're in there. They slam the door, and while they're getting in there, he can see the creature. He could hear it and see it walking around. It was peeking in the windows. He could see it. He could see the silhouette. It was huge, about 10 foot, he figures. So they barricade themselves in the bathroom, and he's holding this carving knife like this, and he's just waiting for it to come through the door. He's holding this knife, and the dog is right next to him sitting there. It's about 11:30 at night. Next thing he knows, it's 5:30 in the morning. He is still like this with a carving knife. The dog is in a trance. He's asleep sitting up. Dogs don't sleep sitting up. 6 hours of missing time. Figure that one out. Now, I told him, you should try some regression hypnosis, because I've been there, because I've had my experience back in the day when I was a kid. But what is that? And, he wrote some very heartfelt letters to me, and I published them in the book word for word, because they were like excellent and poignant and to the point about stuff. He said, if you had told me this would have happened to me, I'd have said you're full of S. There ain't no way. That's crazy. And it happened to him. He wants to know what happened to that 6 hours. And his dog is sound asleep, sitting up. Eyes are open. He's just glazed over. And he eventually kind of wakes up and shakes, and they walk out, and they hear the workers out there. It's like 7 o'clock in the morning. workers are showing up. So he just goes out and gets the workers together and starts working on the house again, goes to his job. Didn't tell his wife for 2 years. So he's a respected businessman. I mean, his name is a pseudonym in there too. But how do you explain that? And he reached out from the first book. So they're coming from all kinds of walks of life. Blue collar, white collar executives. Everybody in between. They're coming. It happens to everybody. Eventually, I mean, if you're in the woods and you're paying attention. So I'd like to come on and do this again, guys. This is fun. I mean,
Hey man,
Yeah, we can definitely do a part 2.
yeah, because I could get into some of these stories, and if you get one of these books, trust me, you'll have some questions, and I don't have answers, but I have great theories, and they all make sense. They're as good as anything any naysayer is going to come up with. Well, that's bull crap. That can't happen. That didn't. Well, yes, it did. It didn't happen to you, so you don't believe it, but it happened to everybody else in this book and the other book. I mean, it's just people got stuff to say and they want to say it. They don't have an
Don't know
audience.
where to say it. Yep.
Yeah, they don't have an audience yet. And I'm just giving them a soft place to land. So this is the most recent book, Sasquatch: Evidence of an Enigma, Part 2. And this is the first one. And there's a great story about the creature on the cover of this book. And you can get them at my website is relichominid.com, www.relichominid.com, RELICHOMINID.com. And you can email me, tell me a story. If you don't want anybody to know it's you or about it, it's all confidential. But they're interesting books. They're off the wall for the non-woo people. I really hate the word woo. I don't like the word. It's a dirty word. But it's like stuff you guys have seen. Your photo, Rick, don't forget to send me that picture. I want to see it. But
I will say that to you.
It's like the stuff you've seen and experienced, and other people are seeing it and experiencing it. It's what every Tom, Dick, and Harry has experienced, but nobody hears about it because the big reporting agencies won't put it on there. I've got some killer reports on BFRO that are not nearly as good as they could be if they hadn't taken the stuff out. It's embarrassing. I feel bad for my witnesses. I don't care about me, my numbers or whatever I report. I don't care. But these people deserve to have their stories told, and they deserve to have the respect of just telling their story. You can believe it or not, but at least listen to them. That's
Right.
That's the whole thing.
That's exactly right. That's one of the reasons Blake and I do this is we have people on the show that are just ordinary, everyday people that tell their stories, and that's all we do. We provide them with a format to be able to do that.
Yeah,
With
that's
no
all they
joke.
want. That's all they want. They just want peace of mind and somebody that at least listens to them, if not outright believes them.
Right.
And you could be making this stuff up, but you really can't make some of this stuff up when you determine that the people are
Probably
of
the
good.
first one to admit. We've had some people on here that a lot of people would probably look at like they're crazy, but that's not our place to judge. So
I'm the crazy guy. Yeah, they're not.
no. You don't even begin to scratch the surface. But
Yeah, I know. I've interviewed some of those people. Believe me, I've had a Pentecostal preacher that was told in the middle of the night by God to go out and talk to the Sasquatch people. So he went out on his front porch, and there was a dozen Sasquatch there, and he talked to them in a language he didn't know, and they talked back to him, and they had a great conversation.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that happened. But he came off as like not all there.
Yeah.
there were other things to that story, but but
Everything's messing up there.
yeah. There's three cogs missing. I could hear the gears kind of clanking together up there because the stuff wasn't working. You could tell that he was having a rough time trying to keep a straight face when he was telling me the story. So that's how I kind of knew I was being yanked. But it takes getting yanked a couple, 2 or 3 times till you figure out, okay. So
who you can trust and who you can't, yeah.
Yeah. And you just know, you kind of know BS when you hear it. And of course, somebody listening to your podcast now will be going, that guy's BS. That Carter Buschardt, that's baloney. That couldn't have happened. That's bull. He's just trying to sell a book. I don't care. If you know how much money I make selling these books, zero. I mean, anybody who writes these books, they know, unless you're selling tens of thousands, which, I'm not. But, I'm just kind of scratching the surface here with the people that need a voice. That's what I'm doing. I can't help if you don't believe me. Like I said, I can't change your mind. It's up to you. Change your mind.
You're just putting it out there.
Yep. So I'd love to come back, guys. This was fun chat. You got an open mind. It's just cool, and you've had experiences, and it's been fun.
Are you open for next Wednesday night?
Maybe not the next Wednesday, but maybe the Wednesday after. Let's PM and get this. You do this every Wednesday, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, we can do our show whenever, but yeah, our scheduled day is Wednesday.
Well, let's kind of pencil in maybe a couple of weeks from now. So that's what is this, the 26th? So it'd be like the 9th-ish, maybe.
Okay.
June.
Yeah.
Be fine with it.
We'll go through the day. I'll look at I've got another calendar up here. I've got another one on my phone, so I'll look and see. I got to get a bikini wax next Wednesday, so I really can't be here. I'm just kidding. My wife likes it all smooth, so I have to. I'm just messing with you, But I'd love to, because it's been able to share stuff, and I could go into some specific. If you get this book between now and then, it'll give you time to read the book, and and maybe even the first one too. But or get a Kindle version of either, and that way, I like books. I like to feel a book in my hand.
Me too.
Kindle's not for me. My wife has 1,000 books on her Kindle. I like to have. I've got 1,000 books in my basement.
You want the physical book.
I want to smell the print and look at the pictures, I like the real thing. I'm old school, but I love technology, but a book is a book. It's cool.
A book is a book. That's exactly right.
It's like cash money. I don't want to go cashless. I'd rather have some folded money in my pocket. It makes me feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
I got some.
Gotta have some of that green back in there.
That's it, baby. Like I got some.
Yeah. All right, Carter, buddy, we have really enjoyed having you on tonight. And like I say, we got you down for the night, and we'll do a part 2. Let you come on and share some of your rather high-rated experiences with us, with the viewers.
Yeah, Carter, it was good meeting you, brother, and I look forward to having you back on here.
It's cool. Send me the link when this is done. I'll put it on my thing and get some more looks toward your place, So send me the link when you get it done, and so I can share it on my Facebook. I got about 3,000 followers, so I got a few people looking at me. So
okay. We'll sure do it, buddy.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Please go check out Carter's book.
Yeah, it's a good book. I don't have anything misspelled in there. I'm very anal. But, whether you believe some of these tales or not, I've got a wall full of footprints back there and handprints, Let's see, I've got a really good handprint.
Is that Patty's print?
That's Patty. No, that is that one there. Let's see. That is a handprint I took here locally. My partner actually took it. This is one I took very close to that footprint there. And then that is Patty right there. And one more over is Freeman footprint. So, yeah, I've got the Paul Freeman and the Patty, and then 2 of them are her local prints here. So, a lot of stuff. They're everywhere. You know how it is. They're everywhere. They're just everywhere. So, but yeah, let's do this again. This is awesome. We'll just pencil in the 9th, and I'll look at my thing in the morning and confirm it, and then we can plan on it. But yeah, send me the link so I can toot your horn on my end.
All right, brother, we'll do it. Appreciate it. Carter, thank you very much.
Yep.
Everyone out there, remember, order one of Carter Buschardt's books. I ordered both of them. Very good reading. Carter, I'll be ordering them in the morning. Thank you again. And this is Rick Weaver with Northwest Georgia Cryptics. Blake, you want to close us out, bud?
As always, guys, thank you very much. Like I said, please go check out Carter's book. Not buy one, buy two.
Yeah, buy two.
Buy 10, however how many you want.
May the forest be with you.
That's it.
Like I said,
All right,
thank you guys.
We'll see you.
If you're not already subscribed, hit the subscribe button, bell notification, like, and a comment. And see you guys next week.
All right,
Carter, I'll send you that photo.
Please do. It'll stay private. It'll stay private.
Okay, no problem. Good night, guys. God bless everybody.
We'll see you.